This is Adele Jones reporting for May 2017. This has been a fairly quiet month in terms of activities, although not in terms of the amount of work that I've been getting through and that colleagues have been getting through. I guess there are just 3 or 4 main areas I would like to update our followers on. With regard to Work Package 1, which is all of the project management aspects of the project, my main focus this month has been to finalize some of the financial issues outstanding to ensure that we were able to satisfy the European Union in terms of our interim reporting and to make sure that all the documentation was there for the auditors. So that is all complete, and everything, the interim report has been submitted. The other thing that we did was to have a meeting to discuss some of the financial challenges in terms of the systems that we have or haven't had in place over the last 12 months, to look at ways in which we can improve efficiency and effectiveness. And it's very clear to me that as we move forward, the university is going to give us much more support in terms of their role in dealing with the financial management side of the project. Work Package 2, which is the game development, we are moving steadily along with the prototype for the first game, and we're at the stage of looking at the 3rd level so that we can move to the 4th level and the 5th level, which will be the final level. And all of the team members have been given a link so that we can play the latest version of the game and provide some feedback. So that's where that is up to. Most of my work this month has been focused on 2 areas particularly. One has been legacy and sustainability, and I know that we're only halfway through the project, but I've been turning my mind to what happens at the end of None in 3 and what can we do to secure a future so that we can expand and extend this model to other countries. So I've been working on that quite hard, and that is actually going to occupy quite a lot of my time over the coming months. And as soon as I have more information to share about that, I will do. The other piece of work that I've been working on with Hazel, with Ina, Vicky and Sue is on developing a comprehensive training program. And we've designed 6 courses which will be rolled out between now and September, and then they will be repeated via webinar up until December. So we've been busy with that, and we'll be starting the first of those courses within about, probably by the time the next report that I give to you, I'll be able to report on how that went. So that's what we've been working on. Those courses are certificated by the University of Huddersfield in that they've had approval for the quality of course content, course outline, objectives, and so on. And we're hoping that they will indeed build capacity in the area of domestic violence prevention and treatment. So those are the big areas of work that I've been focusing on. I've also completed the content for the children's web pages, which Daniel has designed with the support of Paul, and we will be putting that all together and sending that out for consultation in due course. And then finally, in terms of dissemination, we continue to disseminate the Research 21 lessons, which is the qualitative research. The quantitative research findings will be due out towards the end of this month. Some have already been submitted in the form of a publication, so when that journal article comes out, that will be available on the website. We are working on some other publications. I've identified a new authorship team to lead on an article on the impact of violence on men and youth, and that's going to be starting, well, I think Deborah is leading on that, and we've started work on that already. So there is a lot of work to do in terms of dissemination. I also had meetings with the communication and visibility team to plan for the second None in 3 film, and again that's going to be coming up very soon. So things keep busy, and I'm managing to keep my head above water. And just in closing, I'd like to direct you all to the landing page of the website, because you will see that Dr. Hazel Dabreo is featured, and also Dr. Nikki Sheretz. And those of you who've been following our work will know that Nikki was a doctoral researcher. Well, I'm delighted to announce to the world, really, that Nikki successfully defended her PhD thesis, and she is now Dr. Nikki Sheretz. So congratulations, Nikki, from all of us. So thank you. Until next time, bye-bye.
Hello, this is the May report, May 2017 from Grenada. The thrust right now is on organizing the trainings. We really want to be sure that we don't invite the same people that invariably get invited to all of the trainings around. It being a small island with a small population and an even smaller pool of people who work professionally with domestic violence, you tend to encounter the same people over again. And what happens there is that the capacity of the general population does not necessarily increase. Rather, it remains concentrated within a small pool of qualified people. So with team, we have been working really hard to tease out 10 people for the training, for the trainers workshop, who are working in the field of domestic violence or have a degree of influence in that field, even though they may not be the doctor or the top administrative person, but that they have a hands-on and proven record of good work in the field. So this could be a woman in a community who's very well known for being in the service, for example. There's a lovely story of a woman in Grenada in one of the rural districts who realized that a lot of the children in her village were going to school without breakfasts and beginning to do poorly in school because they didn't have adequate nutrition. And what she did was set up a stall at the end of her street every morning. As school children went by to catch the bus or walk to school, she would hand them out a cup of cocoa tea and some juice and saltfish and bake, something like that. This is what I call someone actively working in the field. And when we speak about women who suffer from domestic violence while pregnant or while having an HIV positive status, or any of the vulnerable conditions, it is generally the neighbors who know first and who need to have tools that they can use to help. Because the helpers are there and they are present, and if you look, you will find them. So the other thing, as well as finding people who are not the same old and those who are already actively working in the field, because this is a train the trainers workshop coming up, I also would like to find individuals who have the skills to continue to lead trainings on their own. So whatever you expect a facilitator to be able to do, be well spoken, be well read, have time and energy to take on further research if it's necessary to augment their skills, to be able to convey theoretical ideas, to engage with people and make the workshops dynamic, all of this kind of thing. It's not simple to just pull 10 people like that into a training. So that's what we've been working on in the last little while, and that training is going to happen in the week of July 4th. And then we'll be planning the trainings for the wider population, which some of the 10 will co-facilitate with me. And in doing all this, my writing has fallen a little behind, well behind, but it'll pick up soon again, because there's a lot of information to get out there about our findings, and country report needs to be done, and so on. So work continues.
Hello, I'm Ina Trotman Jamet, and this is my monthly report for the 9 and 3 for this month, May 2017. This month has been dedicated to the writing and fine-tuning of the contents for our training program. And this training program comes out of our qualitative research with men and women in Barbados and in Grenada. This is what the report looks like, and it can be found on our website www.9and3.org. Alongside this report on the qualitative findings, we also have made available a report on the recommendations called 21 Lessons. And this report comes in both visual and audio format. So our training is about to start within a matter of weeks. And the first module, the first of 2 modules, is a 4-day intensive course aimed at the training of trainers. And in this, we are supported by the HIV/AIDS Commission here in Barbados, who is making training, accommodation, and other logistics available to us. So we thank them very much for this partnership. The second module that I am working on at the moment as well will be a 5-day intensive course which will be aimed at a wider audience, and that will be delivered after the training of trainers module. So that's all from me for the time being, and brief, short, to the point, on quite a bit of work that has been done in making sure that we have the best training available. So until next time, bye-bye.
So we're now 13 months into the project, and I have moved from Huddersfield to Staffordshire University since 3rd of May, and we have some arrangements so this project, it won't affect this project at all. And I meet with Dave now today at Staffordshire University.
So it goes into your view now, so if you click with the mouse and then hold, and then you can move it back and forth, and then you push.
Can't just the angle?
No, I think the mouse is... Right, so this is what I'm talking about. The rotations aren't being handled correctly at the moment. So it's got the direction vectoring and it should be turning, but it isn't. So the animations are all in. I cleaned up all the motion capture. But I think it's stuck in one direction at the moment. So Rondell takes his turn. He gets positioned in the right place, but it's always pointing in that direction.
So
No
change of rotation.
No, I need to fix that. Must be an axis mistake. But yeah, so remember that last week I did all the animations for the first take of motion capture.
Yeah.
So I've cleaned up all the second set of animations, and they're all in the animation tree.
That looks much better now.
Yeah. But then what I found was, you know, the animation I did where I got a broom handle with the motion capture, and I actually mimed myself doing the movement, because my limbs are of different lengths to theirs. When I retarget the animation, my hand was like floating around in space, and even after I fixed that using the tools, it still floated on the surface, and it was actually quite a lot of work just to get that simple movement done. So I ended up hand animating the pool animation. So if I show you again, this this animation here, this one, that one, and that one, and then the same again for Hayden. All those, I ended up just hand animating them because it was just far too complicated to clean up the motion capture data and have it be accurate to where the pool cue was, where the hand was, all that sort of thing. For both the hand on the table and the hand on the stick.
So how are you going to solve the first is the character in the middle of the table?
Character in the middle of the table, so the first thing I'm going to fix is the rotation. So at the moment it's always firing down this axis. I've got a function called calculate character direction and it's based on, I think there's an issue with the first player's turn is always down the table, but then it's not set into the next player's turn. So if I was to show you the code, which I will do in a few minutes, you'll see it's actually finding the nearest ball on the table of that type and aiming towards it. But because the turn hasn't been flicked over to the other person's in that section of the code, it's not rotating correctly yet. I think I can fix that this afternoon. With that fix, that will mean that the player is on the correct side of the ball, and then I'll put the left-right movement back in. I'm not sure what's happened there. With that, the final issue with regards to the movement of where the characters are on the table is having them be as far from the table as they need to be. So at the moment I know the closest they can be to the ball, which is this, but the furthest away that they need to be hasn't yet been defined. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the centre point here, which is the furthest from a cushion you can be, and draw a line to here, and then I'm going to measure the distance. And then, so say we're aiming at that ball, this will be our vector, our direction that we're heading in. And so I'll do a check. The character's here. Is that beyond the distance from this line here? No, it's not.
Are you going to let a player to control the direction of the hit?
In the first person, that's why we switched to first person view, because in the first person view, I've actually hidden, if I show you.
Yeah, because you don't need to calculate character, you let the player to.
So, if you look there, he's not actually there. Difficult to move around in this view, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Do you see how it's just gone into first person?
Okay.
And then if I take my shot.
So what did you hide it?
Yeah, and then when the camera changes, I'll hide the first person cue and I put the third person one in. Now obviously for Rondell you're always going to see Rondell. I just need to get a bit more creative with the camera angles really. And then get the conversation in. But you notice how he goes from visible and then as soon as the camera cuts to here, all you see is this first person cue. There's actually 2 cues for Hayden and 1 cue for Rondell, because obviously he's always third person. So it's just a little bit of trickery. And what that means is it's going to make it easier, because all I have to do is find an axis to left-right, and then offset my rotation direction based upon the value I've already calculated. So everything is there, it just needs to be stuck together. So the turn system works. The only thing it's missing is the rotation of the conversation. And then maybe some walking animations like between the different bits of the table. But I think I'm going to perhaps not do the walking, or at least not do it right now, because if I get the camera angles to cut at the right point, you won't even notice, and arguably it's a waste of time to have to wait for them to walk around the table. You know, we just want them to focus on the conversation, the game itself. So I'm probably not going to do navigating them around the table. They'll just take the shots, talk to each other, then the camera will cut to Rondell line of his next shot.
When the player takes a shot, what happens?
Okay, so they get into this point, they'll be able to move the mouse left and right, and this cue will move around in relation to the mouse. So
once I take this shot, and whatever those...
So you take the shot, the camera cuts away, the player gets to this point, and then Rondell will take his turn. The camera will have cut at that point, you won't see that teleport. He'll have already calculated his positions. And then at that point, the game's going to decide, just before he takes his shot, is there anything that the character needs to say at this point? I've worked out, I think it's 53 pieces of dialogue in this level, so it's actually not that many. There's only about 6 or 7 different conversation tracks, so connecting those together shouldn't be too much of a problem. All I have to do is calculate what's the minimum possible number of moves that you could complete
to accommodate all this.
There's more than enough moves. Even if you did a perfect game, there's more than enough moves to fit all the dialogue in.
They don't have to talk all the time.
Exactly, they don't have to talk all the time, so there'll be some gaps in between as well. So that'll be useful. So it'll just provide a bit of a lull, and then on that last couple of shots there'll be a bit more dialogue again.
So the game mechanics, do you think you can complete today?
Yeah, I think
This
so.
afternoon?
That's a left and right thing.
Yeah.
The left and right thing, fixing Rondell's angle, I can definitely have them rotating the correct way. Getting the buff offset from the table at the right positions is going to be a little bit trickier. Making sure that they're not inside the table, because at the moment I'm just calculating the offset based around the table.
Can you use a collider trigger to do that? Say if, obviously we're not using physics, but if any character or the character you can are in collider with the table's collider, and then you move this back.
Yeah, that is one way of doing it, but I think I'm going to just have a line, an invisible line.
Mm-hmm.
Similar actually to how the code works for the drag mechanic. It's based around the point from here to here, and that's just a line in space and then a measure how far I am from it. Admittedly, that calculation's in screen space, but I could do the same in 3D, and I could just have a point which is the furthest point that you can be from the middle of the table, which is obviously about there to about there, and then that distance there plus the character's radius if the character is not that far away from that line.
So why calculate yourself if the collider can do the job?
Because I'd have to do like multiple iterations. So with measuring from the line, all I have to do is go, are you off the line yet? Right, no. Offset by this much because I'm dealing with positions. But if I use the collider, I'd have to go like across several frames. I'd have to go right. Well, not across several frames, but it'd be several more calculations. I'd have to go move the collider back a bit. Is it still in the table? Loop, 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 loop. Whereas if I just do it as one raycast distance check, I can just dump them right where they need to be.
Distance.
Yeah, and I think I probably won't do this immediately, but when it comes to tidying up this level later on, I can do some edge case scenarios. So for example, if the ball is there, like right by the edge of the cushion, I'll raise the character up about 5 centimeters so that the hand actually rests on that, and the camera angle will be from above. What that means is you won't see that the feet are floating, because I've only got one of these animations because they take quite a while to do, but I can reuse it by just offsetting the height of the character. And if the ball's really far down the table, I will set the third person animation for Rondell. The camera will be behind him, so you won't see how far away he is when he's making that pop. You'll only see the aftermath of the balls moving away. And for first person it doesn't matter because we've hidden the character anyway. All you see is the cue.
Okay, so next report for next month. And before we start, we'd like to congratulate Dr. Nikki Sheritz for a successful defense for thesis. It was wonderful defense. I was there, so I couldn't say anything. I was going to say a lot of things, but hey, it was just beautiful defense. So congratulations, congratulations. Now let's start the report. Okay, so Dominic, you go first. Yeah.
Okay. So the update I want to give you guys is on the non-E3 report, the quant report. Dan's now finished the results section. He's been spending a lot of time working through the results, making sure we preserve the data for the planned publication strategy. Obviously we can't be repeating the use of certain data, so going through and making sure we use stuff that's separate from everything that's currently been used in papers that are submitted and accepted and the proposed future ones.
Just want to say that it was probably the most difficult task because the report wasn't in plan before, so we had all this peer-reviewed journal publication lined out, and it was probably the most difficult task I ever had to extract data, to report meaningful, stuff, and still have, enough information for publication. So yeah, but yeah, we good now. Yeah, we good. We actually finalized the whole thing, last week, so we good. Yeah. Well.
Okay. Honoree's also been in touch with some information related that will be relevant for the introduction, and him and Agatha are currently working on the introduction section for the report. Nikki's also working on the results, so the stuff that Dan's done in tables and analysis is done. Nikki's going to be simplifying that for the readers and explaining it and giving a bit more clarity for that stuff. And then myself will be working on the discussion section once all these different sections are done, and once finalised, once everything's done with the report, we'll consult with Adele, Ina and Hazel just to make sure they're happy before it's submitted for publication.
Yeah, excellent. The next thing, which is something wonderful, it took me only a few weeks because I was applying a very advanced statistical and mathematical modeling to look at the effect of violence exposure in the family and also victimization in the family. So we're talking about not just physical abuse but also sexual abuse, and how this affects the cognition of the young children. So what I applied is a multi-group structure question modeling, all of these terms, and with a split between males and females. So we're comparing directly two different models, and also controlling for a number of covariates there. So the results are extremely important. We don't have a time to actually give you the whole results. We can just show you my dribblings after analysis. Okay, you think it's gonna work? But yeah, this paper will be led by Agatha and myself, and we'll be in touch with all of you guys, including Adele, to contribute to the final thing. You know, it's gonna happen very soon. So yeah, it's rock and roll. What I call in research, this is rock and roll. And then just let you know, we preserve some data to do something extremely important as well. And Nick is going to talk about it. This is the next paper, and Nick and I will be working on this starting today.
Yep.
Nikki, over to you.
So this paper is going to be focusing on the moderating role of effective cognitive responsiveness and emotional intelligence between violence exposure outside of the home or on violent behavior, so perpetration.
Okay, that's the one.
And then in addition to that paper, I'm also now working on a mixed methods paper. I believe Deborah is leading that one, where I'm doing the quantitative research on that with the focus on males. So
Wonderful.
that's what we're doing.
Lots of papers.
Lots of papers, and yeah, our work was a little bit delayed because I was outside the country. Something we cannot control sometimes, but everything's good. We're back to work, and we proceed with all the publication as planned. That's a good thing, because I was checking the publication strategy, and we're doing pretty good. Yeah, just the report is a little bit delayed because of these issues with, you know, what should go where, you know. Anyways, thank you very much. See you guys.
Hi, this is Denise with the May 2017 video report. The month of May so far has been a relatively slow month. However, our social media channels continue to grow steadily. In Barbados, we are celebrating the month of a child, and in Grenada, they are celebrating the month of awareness for persons with disabilities. So on the social media pages, you will be seeing posts that are relevant to those activities for the month of May as it relates to domestic violence. Also, for this month, None in 3 has been able to support our partners Action for Justice and UNICEF in their march against child abuse, which happened on May 7th this year. Another of our highlights is a poem from the author Steen, which was first heard at the March Against Child Abuse. This month, there was also an article posted by the Barbados Today online newspaper about the research report which was published this year. On our Facebook page, currently we have 2,464 followers. Instagram has 55 followers, and Twitter has 106 followers. And this has been a media report for May 2017. Thank you.